Pentadecanoic acid, also known as C15, 0, is described to be an odd-chain fatty acid found in saturated fat, specifically in dairy fat, such as natural whole milk. C15 is a type of fatty acid. It contains an odd number of carbon atoms in its molecular structure, which is 15 carbon atoms, hence the name C15. Continuing into the holistic use of fat as explored in our last video, Good Fat for Bodybuilding, in which we overviewed the role of natural fat, we now consider another component of fatty acid profiles, odd-chain fatty acids, specifically C15. Contrary to popular understanding, in holistic sciences such as ancient Ayurveda, healthy fats are crucial for building OJAS, which is the term used for vitality and immunity. Additionally, in current-day context, Venn Watson and Butterworth, 2022, suggests that fatty acids play major roles in supporting physiological well-being. We briefly explore this odd-chain fatty acid in an overview, including some of its observed nutritional advantages, and some natural sources of dietary C15. According to Sau et al. 2021, observational studies in adults demonstrate an association between whole fat dairy consumption and multiple health benefits. Several authors suggest that OCFA, such as pentadecanoic acid, C15-0, and heptadecanoic acid, C17-0, mediate the beneficial effects of dairy fat. We do not eat or drink foods in isolation. Rather, diets are a complex mixture of many foods. In turn, the fatty acid composition of foods can have a wide range of effects, and this view is shared by holistic viewpoints. C15 is found in certain foods and is thought to have various health-supporting properties. Some sources suggest that it may play a role in improving metabolic well-being, reducing inflammation, and supporting heart well-being, which can contribute to overall longevity. What's interesting is that holistics also categorize certain food sources as longevity nutrients due to their overall nutritional dietary effects as part of a well-balanced diet. The purity of food sources is emphasized just as much as their dietary advantages. For example, there is a significant distinction between A2 or organic indigenous cow milk and commercially sourced non-organic dairy products. Despite them both being types of milk, they may vary in composition and purity, and this may translate into their overall nutrient composition. For instance, organic cow milk is typically free from synthetic chemicals and additives for treatment of any of its cattle, which can be present in non-organic dairy and may result in antibiotic residues in particular milk, which then means that the true composition of this type of milk is subject to these factors. Further, non-organic dairy may contain antibiotic residues. These residues or factors are not natural elements of natural milk, and therefore the composition of the milk is subject to variation in nutritional effects. An example would be bovine somatotropin, the synthetic growth hormone used in some large-scale commercial milk production, which has been banned in several countries due to its negative implications on the cattle and for human consumption. In terms of pentadecanoic acid is not entirely new, it's just that recent understanding and recognition of its potential benefits are now becoming more known. Although holistic sciences and traditional systems have played and continue to play significant roles in the modern day, many of their principles have often been at odds with contemporary understanding. However, recent interest in holistics and the potential therapeutic advantages of holistic diets and medicinal nutrition continue to be catalysts for current-day sciences, and C15 is another example of a natural component in existing natural food sources with dietary advantages. Reputable sources suggest that for C15, dairy fat is generally considered a good and most accessible source of this fatty acid in typical diets with trace levels. Additionally, Carter et al. 2022 suggests that C15 exhibits a higher concentration in sheep and buffalo milks, approximately 1.16 gram per 100 gram of total fatty acid. Next in line is cow and goat's milk, with cow milk having higher concentration than goat milk. Venn Watson and Butterworth, 2022, suggests that larger studies have shown that higher C15 blood concentrations are associated with lower risks of developing chronic conditions over time, including type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular issues, greater longevity, as well as to lower risks of chronic inflammation, gestational diabetes, hypertension, non-alcoholic fatty liver, etc. They also state that C15's cellular stability at high concentrations is consistent with its role as a saturated fatty acid, which contains no double bonds and is resistant to lipid peroxidation. The beneficial role of higher fatty acid saturation and lowered lipid peroxidation in cell membranes have been attributed to healthier aging and longevity. We consider some of C15's associated properties. C15 exhibits anti-inflammatory, anti-fibrotic, and anti-carcinogenic properties. These activities are supported by both in vitro and in vivo studies, highlighting its potential in preventative nutrition. Additionally, Kataria and Singh 2024 state that fatty acids are receiving attention from the modern-day science for playing important roles in our body, such as anti-inflammatory and antioxidant action, as well as association with brain health, and the discussion in modern science is beginning to broaden from the narrow focus on saturated fats to the wider benefits of the full-spectrum fatty acid profile. It is likely that ancient dietary practices focused heavily on natural animal dairy and therefore potentially provided a reliable source of this fatty acid, aligning with findings in holistic sciences and diets. In the same way, A2 cow ghee, which is lactose-free, may offer trace elements of these odd-chain fatty acids. Lastly, in terms of holistic diets, here is a well-known ancient anti-inflammatory natural drink that is consumed for its medicinal and nutritional attributes. That is boiled turmeric milk. Combining turmeric with milk, especially whole milk, can help improve the absorption of curcumin since it is fat-soluble. It may be helpful as a relaxant, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and rich in protein, depending on suitability. Golden milk is a nutritious drink used in holistic bodybuilding as part of a balanced diet. However, it is subject to individual suitability. Overall, C15 is an essential fatty acid with evidential observations relevant to physiological advantages. In particular, we refer to natural sources of real organic whole milks. Of course, C15 cannot be viewed in isolation, but part of a matrix of other components. Remember, natural whole milks, although nutritious, are rich in fats, and therefore are calorie-dense, which may not be suitable for certain individuals. Subject to individual suitability and individual health status.